In the neon-lit underbelly of New Metropolis, where the skyline sliced through the clouds like the jagged teeth of a mechanical beast, a certain chaos reigned supreme. Here, the elite lounged in luxury, sipping cocktails that glowed unnaturally under the artificial sun, while the rest scrambled to survive, clinging to jobs that often required more ingenuity than pay. It was in this absurd world that Alex found himself, a technician whose knack for fixing things was matched only by his talent for getting into trouble. As he hunched over a malfunctioning hover pad, his grease-stained fingers danced over the controls. "Come on, you piece of junk," he muttered, the usual blend of frustration and humor dripping from his voice. He'd become something of a local legend, known for his quick wit and even quicker mishaps. It was a small consolation in a world where failure meant a one-way ticket to the execution block. Today was different, though. As he was about to give the hover pad one last nudge, it sputtered violently, and then, bam, the device exploded in a confetti of gears and sparks. Alex blinked, his heart racing, as he stood up to survey the chaos he'd unleashed. Before he could process what had just happened, he realized he wasn't alone. A dozen candidates, all decked out in their overly dramatic competition outfits, had just witnessed his grand malfunction. The scene was surreal. Contestants who'd come to showcase their talents stood frozen, mouths agape. One man, sporting a top hat and a monocle, had just managed to juggle flaming batons, only now, they were arcing dangerously close to the hover pad's debris. A woman in a sequined leotard was mid-pirouette when the explosion sent her tumbling into a nearby fountain, drenching her in her meticulously styled hair. "Well, that was something," Alex said, unable to suppress a chuckle as he waved at the bewildered contestants. "Welcome to the selection, where you either win glory or face, well, you know." The assembled crowd burst into laughter, a release of tension that echoed against the metallic buildings. It was at that moment, with humor piercing the heavy air of doom, that a shimmering notification appeared on Alex's wristband. "Congratulations. You've been selected for the grand selection." "Wait, what?" he exclaimed, staring at the glowing words as the laughter died down. The contestants, still recovering from their unexpected comedy show, turned to him with expressions ranging from envy to disbelief. Before he could wrap his mind around the implications, a figure stepped forward from the group. It was Rena, a tech prodigy with wild curls and a mischievous grin. "Looks like you're in, tech wizard. Think you can handle it?" she teased, nudging him playfully. "Oh, I can handle it," he replied, a mix of dread and excitement swirling within him. What could possibly go wrong in a contest where losers get the chop? As he was swept into the frantic world of selection training, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just taken a sharp turn down a very dark, and very entertaining, road. The training was intense and bizarre. Candidates were thrown into ludicrous challenges designed to showcase their talents while simultaneously making them question their sanity. The selection committee, a group of eccentric elites, reveled in the absurdity, taking bets on who would make it out alive. Madame Vortex, the committee's chairwoman, was a striking figure with razor-sharp cheekbones and a penchant for drama. Her assistant, Chip, was a hyperactive little man who seemed to thrive on chaos. "Welcome, future champions," Chip announced one day, bouncing on his heels. "Today's challenge? Competitive knitting. But with a twist. You'll be knitting while dodging laser pointers." Alex exchanged bewildered glances with Rena as they stood at the starting line, oversized yarn balls clutched in their hands. "I didn't sign up for this," he exclaimed, half laughing, half panicking. "What's next? Extreme bird watching?" "Oh, just wait until you see the cooking round," Rena replied, eyes twinkling with mischief. I hear the taste testers have been programmed to literally bite. The first challenge began, and it was a chaotic whirlwind of colorful yarn and startled screams. Contestants fumbled with their knitting needles, trying to craft something, anything, while evading the merciless red beams zipping around the room. The laughter was infectious, and soon Alex found himself embroiled in a naughty mess of laughter and shouts. To everyone's surprise, Alex discovered an unexpected talent. He was a master at making the best of bad situations. As he clumsily dodged lasers, he started making up ridiculous patterns, naming each one after the contestants who tripped over their own feet. And this one, ladies and gentlemen, is the fallen star, he proclaimed as a fellow contestant fell spectacularly into a pile of yarn. By the end of the challenge, Alex had somehow survived and, against all odds, managed to create a knitted masterpiece, a lopsided hat adorned with vibrant colors that screamed, "I survived laser knitting." The committee erupted in applause, much to his bewilderment. The second challenge was even more ludicrous, a cooking showdown where contestants had to whip up gourmet meals while fending off robotic taste testers. The robots, designed with a bit too much enthusiasm, darted around the kitchen, their mechanical jaws snapping at anything that smelled remotely appetizing. "Just keep them away from my soufflé," Rena shouted as she valiantly attempted to rescue her dessert from a relentless taste tester. Alex, meanwhile, had taken a different approach. He was in the corner, concocting a bizarre dish he dubbed Trash Can Surprise, made entirely from leftover ingredients. "It's a culinary revolution," he declared, grinning as he presented his dish to the panel. When the taste testers finally approached, they seemed to falter, perplexed by the sight of a trash can masquerading as fine dining. The moment stretched into an awkward silence, and then, to everyone's shock, the robots began to applaud. "Is this part of the script?" one contestant muttered, eyes wide. "I think I'm breaking the system," Alex laughed, his heart racing with exhilaration. With each challenge, Alex and Rena grew closer, united by their shared absurdity and the increasingly surreal experiences they faced. They found themselves sharing late-night conversations about life, dreams, and the ridiculousness of it all. But the selection was not without its darker undertones. Whispers of the committee's true intentions rippled through the contestant group. The losers of each round were whisked away, their fates sealed in secrecy. The air of joviality was tainted with an undercurrent of fear. As the final challenge approached, the mood shifted. Contestants were no longer just rivals, they were allies in a bizarre game where survival was no laughing matter. The stakes had risen, and Alex knew that to win, they needed more than just talent, they needed a plan. The final challenge loomed ahead, shrouded in an ominous air that contrasted sharply with the ridiculousness of the previous rounds. A vast arena had been set up, its walls lined with screens flashing bright colors and absurd slogans like, "Survive or die trying," and "The last laugh wins." The mood among the contestants was a mix of determination and dread, laughter slowly giving way to the reality of their situation. As Alex and Rena stood side by side, they took a moment to scan the arena, taking in the bizarre setup, an obstacle course laced with traps that would make a cartoon villain proud. There were swinging axes, pits of sticky goo, and a mechanical dragon that looked suspiciously like a piñata. "Only this one could breathe fire, just your average Saturday," Rena quipped, her eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and fear. "You ready for this?" "As ready as I'll ever be," Alex replied, a nervous grin spreading across his face. "Let's show them how absurd this can really get." Madame Vortex stepped into the spotlight, her commanding presence silencing the crowd. "Welcome to the grand finale of the selection. Only one of you will emerge victorious, while the rest will face consequences." Her eyes glittered with a manic intensity that sent shivers down Alex's spine. As the buzzer sounded, Alex dashed forward, adrenaline pumping through his veins. The crowd erupted into cheers, but the cheering quickly morphed into gasps as contestants began to navigate the course. One contestant, an overzealous gymnast, leaped towards the first swinging axe, only to miscalculate and end up dangling from the apparatus like a piñata. The audience burst into laughter, and Alex couldn't help but join in, momentarily forgetting the danger surrounding them. Rena shot past him, her agility on full display as she deftly avoided the traps. "Come on, slowpoke," she yelled, glancing back over her shoulder. "You've got to keep up." With a determined breath, Alex launched himself into the fray. He ducked under the first swinging axe, narrowly escaping its sharp edge. As he maneuvered past the traps, he felt the rush of laughter and camaraderie in the air. It fueled him, transforming his fear into a strange sense of purpose. This wasn't just about survival, it was about outsmarting the madness they'd all been thrust into. Suddenly, the mechanical dragon roared to life, its fiery breath sending a plume of smoke across the course. Contestants scattered, shrieking and laughing as they tried to evade the creature's fiery wrath. "Great! Now we're in a theme park!" Alex yelled, diving to the side just as a burst of flames singed the edge of his jacket. Rena, ever the strategist, spotted an opening. "Follow me," she shouted, weaving her way towards a series of levers marked with nonsensical instructions. "I think we can take control of that dragon." Alex nodded, sprinting after her as she yanked on a lever labeled "Tickle the Dragon." To their surprise, the dragon let out a confused whine, its flames sputtering out as it tilted its head, looking more like a confused puppy than a fearsome beast. "Did we just turn it into a pet?" Alex laughed, glancing back to see the dragon sitting down, its eyes wide and innocent. Rena grinned. "Maybe if we feed it some of your trash can surprise, it'll be on our side." As they navigated further into the course, it became clear that the remaining contestants were falling away. One by one, they faced their own failures and mishaps. But amidst the chaos, Alex and Rena found a rhythm, laughing as they outmaneuvered traps and dodged flames. Their teamwork became a symphony of absurdity, and the audience ate it up, cheering wildly as they managed to keep the dragon distracted and themselves unharmed. Finally, as they approached the final obstacle, a massive wall that seemed impossible to scale, Alex felt a moment of doubt creeping in. "How are we supposed to get over that?" he gasped, panting heavily. Rena looked thoughtful for a moment. "We need to use our friends. Get the dragon to give us a boost." "Brilliant!" Alex exclaimed, adrenaline fueling his excitement. They rushed back to where the dragon was still playfully flapping its wings, responding eagerly to their call. "Hey, big guy! We need your help!" Rena shouted, her voice ringing out above the crowd. The dragon turned its head, the glint of mischief in its eyes. With a few strategic pulls on the levers, they got the dragon to position itself beneath the wall. "This is either genius or insanity," Alex said, laughing as he climbed onto the dragon's back, Rena following closely. "Probably both," she shouted, and together they ascended, the audience erupting in cheers as they soared over the wall. The thrill of the moment coursed through Alex, a blend of exhilaration and disbelief as they landed on the other side. But the finish line was not the end, it was just the beginning. As they crossed it, the committee's cheers quickly turned to stunned silence. Madame Vortex's face twisted in shock, and Alex could almost see the gears turning in her mind. "We did it!" Rena screamed, throwing her arms up in triumph. However, the celebration was short-lived. "This is not how this was supposed to go," Madame Vortex shouted, her voice cracking. You're supposed to be eliminated, not this. As the crowd began to murmur in confusion, Alex stepped forward. Maybe it's time for a change, he declared, his voice steady despite the chaos swirling around him. Maybe we don't have to do this anymore. Are you insane? Chip piped up, his eyes wide. This is how it's always been. Exactly, Alex shot back, his heart racing. But maybe it's time to stop entertaining the elite and start living our own lives. He looked at Rena, who nodded in agreement, her expression fierce. The contestants, emboldened by their unlikely victory, began to rally behind them, voicing their agreement. We won't let this continue, one contestant yelled, and soon the air was filled with a chorus of determination. Madame Vortex's face turned pale, her facade cracking. You're all making a grave mistake. You'll regret this. Or maybe, Alex said, his voice rising above the clamor, we'll finally start living without fear. With that, the contestants turned their backs on the committee, banding together in solidarity. The atmosphere transformed from one of competition to community, laughter echoing through the arena as they embraced the absurdity of their newfound freedom. As they marched out of the arena, Alex felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over him. The world beyond the selection was waiting, and it was up to them to reshape it. With Rena at his side and a motley crew of survivors behind him, he was ready to turn the tide in a society built on fear and elimination. They stepped into the blinding light of a new dawn, leaving behind the shadows of the selection. Together, they would forge a path where humor and unity could reign, transforming a bloody competition into a movement of change. Laughter bubbled in their throats, echoing like a promise of brighter days ahead, and in that moment, Alex knew, this was only the beginning.